The sun rises over a silent river just as it did 5,000 years ago. A farmer steps into cool black mud. He has no idea his civilization will outlive almost every empire in history. 3,000 years. That is longer than the time between Julius Caesar and you. Longer than the entire history of the United States by more than 10 times. Longer than most languages remain recognizable. Yet ancient Egypt endured. Kingdoms rose, kingdoms fell, dynasties collapsed, foreign armies invaded, but Egypt kept returning. Why? Most empires expand until they break. Egypt somehow bent without snapping. The answer begins with a river, not just any river, the Nile. Every year, almost like clockwork, the Nile flooded its banks. When the water pulled away, it left behind rich black silt. The ancient Egyptians called this fertile land Kemet. It meant the Black Land. Beyond it stretched endless desert, the Red Land. The contrast shaped everything. Only a narrow strip beside the river could support life. That meant farms, villages, temples, and cities naturally clustered together. People did not scatter across enormous forests or mountains. They lived along one long natural highway. The Nile connected everyone. Boats could carry grain, stone, soldiers, and ideas far more efficiently than wagons. Moving north with the current was easy. Moving south was just as possible by raising sails against the reliable northern winds. Nature had built Egypt a transportation system before the wheel became important. How many civilizations received a gift like that? The river did more than feed people, it created predictability. Most ancient societies feared sudden famine. Egyptians expected abundance. The annual flood was so dependable that it became part of religion itself. The gods seemed trustworthy because the river was trustworthy. That stability changed how people thought about the future. Instead of struggling to survive every season, many communities could plan years ahead. Planning creates specialization. Some people farmed, others carved stone, others became priests, others learned mathematics, others recorded taxes and harvests. Civilization grows when not everyone has to search for food. Around 3100 BCE, a ruler known as Narmer united Upper and Lower Egypt. Many historians identify this moment as the beginning of dynastic Egypt. One king, one crown, one river. Instead of dozens of competing kingdoms, Egypt gained remarkable political unity. That unity mattered. When neighboring civilizations exhausted themselves through constant internal wars, Egypt often remained organized under a central authority. Of course, unity never lasted forever. Civil wars erupted, dynasties ended, power shifted. But something unusual happened. The institution survived even when rulers changed. The office of pharaoh became larger than any individual. To Egyptians, pharaoh was not simply a king. He represented cosmic order itself. This idea had a name, Ma'at. Ma'at meant truth, justice, balance, harmony. The universe functioned because order defeated chaos. Every flood, every harvest, every sunrise. Everything depended upon maintaining Ma'at. If Pharaoh protected Ma'at, Egypt prospered. If chaos returned, everyone suffered. Imagine believing your taxes helped hold the universe together. Would rebellion become less attractive? Religion and government became inseparable. Temples accumulated enormous wealth. Priests became administrators, records multiplied, grain storage expanded. The state could survive difficult years because it planned beyond individual lifetimes. What happens when people stop thinking in years and start thinking in centuries? You build differently. Look at the pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Khufu originally stood about 146 meters tall, built around 2560 BCE, composed of roughly 2.3 million stone blocks. Its construction required astonishing organization. Contrary to old myths, most evidence suggests skilled workers, not enslaved populations, built these monuments. Archaeologists have uncovered worker villages containing bakeries, medical care, organized housing, and planned food supplies. Large projects united society. They displayed state power. They trained generations of craftsmen. Knowledge passed forward. Each achievement became the foundation for the next. But geography remained Egypt's greatest ally. To the west stretched the Sahara. To the east lay harsh deserts. To the north rested the Mediterranean Sea. To the south, dangerous cataracts interrupted the Nile. Natural barriers discouraged invasion. Egypt could focus inward while neighbors spent resources defending multiple frontiers. No civilization is completely isolated. Trade flourished. Gold arrived from Nubia. Cedar came from Lebanon. Incense traveled from distant lands. Ideas crossed borders. But Egypt chose carefully what it allowed to become part of its world. Its geography slowed outside influence just enough for traditions to survive. Generation after generation inherited the same symbols, the same gods, the same writing, the same rituals, the same stories, the same river. Would you question your civilization if every sunrise looked exactly like your ancestors described? Of course, Egypt was never perfect. There were moments when everything nearly fell apart. Around 2181 BCE, the Old Kingdom collapsed. The central government weakened. Regional leaders fought for power. The annual Nile floods became less reliable. Food became scarce. For the first time in centuries, Egypt seemed vulnerable. Historians call this period the First Intermediate Period. It lasted for more than 100 years. But Egypt did something unusual. It rebuilt itself. Instead of disappearing forever, it reorganized. A stronger government emerged. Historians call this the Middle Kingdom. Roads expanded, trade increased, art flourished once again, confidence returned. Then another challenge arrived. Around 1650 BCE, a foreign people known as the Hyksos entered northern Egypt. They brought something Egyptians had rarely faced before: horse-drawn chariots, composite bows, new military tactics. At first, Egypt struggled. Foreign rulers controlled parts of the Nile Delta. Many civilizations would have ended there. Egypt adapted instead. Engineers studied the new weapons, blacksmiths copied foreign technology, generals reorganized their armies. Eventually, Egyptian rulers pushed the Hyksos out completely. The lesson stayed with them forever. Never stop learning, even from your enemies. This victory marked the beginning of the New Kingdom, the age of Egypt's greatest power. Pharaohs expanded influence far beyond the Nile. Trade reached farther than ever before. Gold flowed into Egypt. Temples grew larger, cities became wealthier. One ruler stood apart, Hatshepsut. Instead of focusing on conquest, she invested in trade and construction. Her famous expedition to Punt returned with incense trees, gold, ivory, and exotic animals. Her temples still stand today. Then came Amenhotep IV, better known as Akhenaten. He attempted something almost unimaginable. He replaced Egypt's traditional gods with the worship of a single deity, the Aten. It was one of history's earliest experiments with near monotheism. Most Egyptians rejected the change. After his death, the old religion returned. Even powerful pharaohs could not easily erase 3,000 years of tradition. Soon another young ruler appeared, Tutankhamun. His reign was short. His political influence was limited. Yet his nearly untouched tomb transformed modern archaeology forever. In 1922, Howard Carter opened the burial chamber. Inside lay more than 5,000 artifacts: gold, jewelry, furniture, weapons. The discovery reminded the modern world how extraordinary ancient Egypt truly was. Then came Ramesses II, one of Egypt's greatest builders. His reign lasted more than 60 years. Monuments bearing his name stretched across the kingdom. Temples carved directly into mountains. Massive statues standing over 20 meters tall. He wanted future generations to remember him. They did. But no civilization escapes time forever. The Assyrians invaded. Later came the Persians. Then in 332 BCE, Alexander the Great entered Egypt. He was welcomed as a liberator, A new Greek dynasty followed, the Ptolemies. Among them was Cleopatra the Seventh. Contrary to popular belief, Cleopatra was not ethnically Egyptian. She descended from Macedonian Greeks, yet she embraced Egyptian traditions more than many rulers before her. She spoke multiple languages. She understood politics better than most kings. Her alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony shaped the fate of the Mediterranean. When Cleopatra died in 30 BCE, Egypt became part of the Roman Empire. Many people believe that was the end of ancient Egypt. But civilizations rarely disappear in a single moment. Their ideas survive, their symbols survive, their inventions survive, their stories survive. Modern engineers still study Egyptian construction. Architects continue borrowing Egyptian forms. Museums across the world preserve Egyptian history. Millions recognize the pyramids instantly. Few civilizations remain this recognizable after 5,000 years. Archaeologist Barry Kemp argues that Egypt's greatest achievement was not simply building monuments. It was building institutions capable of surviving generations of change. That may be the real secret. The pyramids were never the miracle. The people who imagined projects they would never live to see completed were. Ancient Egypt lasted 3,000 years because geography offered protection, the Nile offered life, culture offered identity, and every generation believed it had a responsibility to preserve order for the next. Most civilizations fought against their environment. Egypt learned to work with it. And that may have been its greatest strength. Empires came and went, but Egypt endured. The Nile still flows, the pyramids still stand. And thousands of years later, the civilization that mastered its environment continues to inspire the world. Because sometimes the greatest legacy isn't the land you conquer, it's the ideas you leave behind.